blasters are full.
What's up guys, Gripe here with a review of the Star Wars Black Series Snowtrooper officer figure. And this figure is a Toys R Us exclusive. So we'll start out by checking out the packaging. You've got the Star Wars Black Series logo up top. You've got a picture of the Snowtrooper down in the bottom right corner. You've got the name of the figure, Snowtrooper Officer, on the bottom left. You've got the Toys R Us exclusive sticker right above that. And you've got the big window where you can check out the figure and its accessories, the backpack and blaster rifle. And on this side you have the name of the figure, and there is no number since it's an exclusive. And on the back we've got information about the Snowtrooper Officer. I'll zoom in so you can read that. And on this side we have the name of the figure again and a window viewing the side of the figure. And on the bottom we've got the hazard warnings and all that fun stuff. And on top another window viewing down. So now we'll take a detailed look at the accessories that come with the figure, and it comes with an F11D blaster rifle. And the sculpt on this is pretty good. It's got some nice details sculpted into it. It does have some silver and white paint applied to it, and it is a rather soft plastic, unfortunately. I noticed it as soon as I took it out of the package. You can see the stock is a little bit warped here. And it does look like the gun itself is black plastic with the white and silver paint applied over top, and there is a little bit of overpaint in certain areas, and some of the white really could have used another coat. You can see the black coming through. But other than that, it's a pretty good accessory. And it also comes with this plastic backpack, and is a nice white glossy plastic with some sculpted and painted details on there. Some of the paint is a little sloppily applied around the edges, but other than that, everything is pretty nice on here. And it does look a little dirty. I'm not sure if that's purposeful to give it a weathered effect or if it just got dirty while it was being packaged. So I'm not really too sure about that. So now we'll check out the sculpt and paint on the figure itself, and overall I think it came out really good. It's a nice looking figure. I like the style of it, and the sculpt is pretty nicely detailed. I really like the glossy white plastic they use for all the armor pieces here. That includes the helmet, mask, chest piece, shoulder pads, forearms, the gloves, shin and knee guards, the crotch area, and the back here. And it came out really good. It looks nice, looks very armor-like, and I wish they used that more on the Stormtrooper, to be honest. And the pauldron here is a hard plastic. There are some sculpted details in this area, in the black area here, and the red paint is applied very nice and evenly with no overpaint on it. The helmet is painted nicely. There are no overpaint issues there. There's a little bit of an issue here on the side of the mask. Looks like there is just a little bit of sloppiness. It's not terrible. You can barely notice it. The silver paint is applied very nicely here. The visor is really the issue. You can see how uneven that line is. You don't notice it so much when the figure is posed and standing up. Unless you're really kind of viewing it from a lower angle, then it's really apparent. And this skirt is a soft plastic. It's fairly flexible, but it does hinder some of the articulation, which I'll show you later. I do like the texture that they sculpted into the belt. That came out really good. Some nice wrinkles sculpted into the back here. And these pouches here look really good. It looks like they should almost open. I also really like the forearm area here. I think there's some really nice sculpted details on that. And a little bit of black plastic applied. The hands look pretty good. There's some wrinkles on the inside of the palm and on the fingers there, and that came out nice. There's also some really good details on the legs. I really like the legs. I think they're nice and thick. It really looks like somebody's trying to bundle up. You got those nice straps there on the side. Those are sculpted and they have some black paint applied to them. And the bottom cuff there is also that glossy white plastic, and that came out nice. I like the ribs here on the boots. Looks like some all-weather boots. It does have some treads and peg holes in the bottom of them. And they also sculpted in some details here on the side of the boot that look really nice, some wrinkles. So overall, I think the sculpt came out really good. It's a good-looking figure, and there's really not much issue with the paint app aside from the visor. So now I'll check out the articulation on the figure, and some of the articulation is rather limited on this figure, which is disappointing. You can see the helmet here. There's really no space in between the helmet and the back of the figure, and that means you cannot move the head up or down. I don't really know why you can't go forward and have them look down a little bit, but that's all you're getting out of that. You can also not tilt the head. Again, I'm sure it's because of the back of the helmet. You can rotate it a little bit, and that's about as far as you can go rotation-wise. You can get the shoulders up, only about that high. It does seem like the pauldron might be limiting it a little bit since the right shoulder doesn't raise quite as high as the left. The arms do rotate completely around the shoulder. There is no rotation on the upper arm itself, only at the elbow joint, and that will rotate all the way around. And like most of the recent Black Series, it only has single jointed elbows. And sadly, you can't even get a 90-degree bend. That's all you're going to get right there, a little bit under 90 degrees. And that definitely becomes an issue when you're trying to pose the figure with its gun. The figure has a swivel and hinge wrist joint. You can swivel the hand all the way around. And depending on where you are in relation to the forearm, it will limit your range of motion, moving the hand up and down. And I do have the forearm upside down here, so generally you're going to be able to get the hand up higher than lower. And now we'll take a look at the diaphragm joint, which it does have, although it's not very useful considering the armor that is blocking most of the movement. You can get a little bit back and forward and a little bit side to side, but it doesn't really stay there. The joint does rotate fairly easily, and there's really no issue getting the top torso all the way around, but that's about the only movement you're going to get out of that joint. There's no articulation at the waist, so we will check out the hips, and again, most of the leg movement is limited by the skirt. You can get a pretty good kick forward on it. You're almost at 90 degrees. The kickback is severely limited by the skirt. I'm not even sure how far the hips will allow it to go. I tried to move the skirt out of the way, but as you can see, it's really cumbersome, and that's about as far as you're going to get with that skirt. Same thing moving the legs out. You can get them pretty far. It seems like they can go farther, but the skirt will just not allow it. And there is an upper thigh cut, and you can rotate that completely around. And it does have really nice double jointed knees. And they're a little stiff like most of the Black Series knees, but you get that first one bent, and then you give it a push, and you can get the second one going. And you can see you can get that all the way over, which is really nice. I wish the elbows were as nice as this. Now I'll check out the ankles on the figure, and it does have some decent ankle articulation, but the armor is pretty big and bulky, so it blocks some of it. Can get the foot down pretty far. You can get it all the way down there, and it looks like you're hitting that cuff. Doesn't really go up much at all, unfortunately, and again, you're going to hit the cuff, so that's about as far as you can get. You can rotate the foot completely around. It does rub on the cuff there a little bit, but you can get it all the way around if you want, like that. This figure does have the typical Black Series ankle rocker type pivot, and it does have a really good range of motion on the pivot, but sadly most of it's going to be wasted since you can't get the legs out far enough to make use of it. Now we'll check out the scale and size of the figure, and it does come in a little bit short compared to some of the other Star Wars figures. You can see it stands at just over 5 3/4 inches tall. And here he is next to the Black Series Stormtrooper, and you can see he is just a bit shorter than the regular Stormtrooper. So overall, I really like this figure. I think the sculpt came out really good. It's a badass looking figure. I think the paint on it's pretty good. There are some small issues with the visor, but that's really it. The main issue I have with this figure is the articulation or lack thereof, especially with the elbows. It's kind of tough to get him into good poses with his blaster rifle, but it's a fairly common problem with the more recent Black Series figures, so I was expecting it. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. Subscribe for more.
Set blasters on full.